Hello friends and welcome to my run through the ESL StarCraft 2 Masters Winter Tournament. This is a tournament played for $63,000 in prize purse overall with 32 players. Divided over two groups, we will be playing in a Swiss system. I'm placed in Group B and my first opponent here is the Terran player Milky Cow. For the people not aware, Milky Cow is a Russian Terran player who usually floats around 5'8", 5'9" MMR, but is known to beat players better than him due to his very odd build orders and his overly aggressive style. In TVZ, often proxy rexing, in PvT, 2-base all-inning, and very often opening with armory mine drops as well. As the first map here that I'm playing is Alkyone, I've done a lot of preparation, and I know... Oh, here we get a pause. A little bit annoyed by that. The reason why he pauses here is because he needs to reset a certain setting. Now, when you play in these tournaments, you always get a tournament account in which the settings aren't correct. It is specified before in the email that in order to make everything go as smoothly as possible is that you check all settings before, make sure your hotkeys are correct as well, which Milky Cow obviously didn't quite do. I'm not sure if he received penalty points for it, but it was a little bit frustrating to get a pause 40 seconds into the game for something that definitely should have been prevented. It doesn't bother me too much, it's just a little bit annoying if it's a preventable thing that can happen. Anyway, let's have a look here at what we're expecting from our opponent. So I actually got some replays from my friend Zane before I had to play him, and Zane played him on the ladder. And Milky Cow played some armory-focused mine drops in which he'd open up with a double gas opener and then follow it up with a double or a triple mine drop. Often two mines coming through the air and one mine walking in towards your natural. So this is kind of mentally what I was preparing for here. I see them being eBay blocked as well. I wasn't entirely ready for this. Usually I send one probe earlier downstairs in case I do get eBay blocked. But it's still not the end of the world because my probe from the main base, the scout to the other side of the map, was fairly late. There wasn't a lot of time for him to build the eBay, so this is all good. At the same time, I'm scouting on the other side of the map. I want to see how many gases he has. I see double gas, and I'm a little bit confused here because usually when people open up with eBay block, they play either gas first or just barracks into gas, single gas into an expansion. It is very rare to see a double gas follow-up because economically, 2 gas is already quite bad and eBay block is also already quite bad. So you stack these two on top of each other and you get a situation in which it's very important for the Terran player to deal some serious damage. And yes, it did delay me a little bit, but a Nexus at around 2 minutes is still completely fine against an eBay block. And because I mined quite a bit of gas as well, my tech is actually going to be fast too. So it's not really the end of the world for me. I'm okay with the position that I'm currently in. Just going to delay my second adept a little bit and throw out a Stargate. Now, as I said, I prepared for armory mine drop scenarios, and the solution that I found to work best was an Oracle into Phoenix opener. The reason for that is because whenever someone plays a fast double or triple mine drop, they have no defense at home, especially with the follow-up that he often went for, which is a tank. You'd have no defense at home, so my Oracle can deal some damage. My Phoenixes can deal with 1 or 2 of the mines, then one mine will burrow, maybe kill 1 or 2 probes, and then my Oracle can just retreat back home, use the ability Revelate to see where the mine is and detect it, and be completely fine. Now, seeing the second Reaper confused me a little bit. He also jumped up to a spot where I didn't even know it was possible to jump up on. And it also seems impossible to jump down from. So I'm not entirely sure what happened here. It might have been a bit of a map bug. But sometimes there are spots on the map you can jump onto if you click on it very precisely. And I think that's what happened here. And then if you want to jump down, you also need to click very precisely again. So far he's lost a Reaper, he killed 1 probe, and he's about to lose a car as well. So that's 2 units that he loses for just killing a single probe. He did get the scouting information on my Oracle, but I don't care so much about that. I want to make sure that I don't walk into a mine with this Oracle, so I take a path around the watchtower as well. I don't want my opponent to see exactly where my Oracle is coming from, whether that's the natural or towards the main. I don't want my opponent to be aware of that. Now, a mistake here would be to finish both of these shades, because then if a mine walks into my natural, I have nothing to defend. Here I just need to pay attention, make sure there's no mines around, and then just kill as many SCVs as possible. So I'm just gonna keep this little bad boy over here. I see both of his mines moving towards me. I see the armory as well, which is it confirms what I had done in, that my research is somewhat correct. I see the mine still at home as well, and I see a mine drop now moving across the map. I'm like, hey, that's a lot of mines really quickly. So right now my mind is kind of dialed in on a potential reactor factory. That's the only thing that makes sense. And whenever someone opens up with an armory and reactor factory, it means that they don't have the ability to push across the map with Marines. Because in order to push across the map with Marines, you need to reactor out Marines. And as he's reactoring on his factory, there's no chance there's a second reactor because it takes too long to build. I know there's going to be a lot of mine drops coming in. So what I want to do is I want to get map control with probes, with adepts, really just with anything. I want to see where the threats are coming from, and I want to stay at home. And I do want to scout with a Phoenix, but not with all of them, just with a single one. This will allow me to still get information, whether there's extra barracks coming in, or maybe there's a type of 1-1-1 follow-up. Maybe he follows this up with a battlecruiser push. Whatever it's going to be, I want to be aware of it. But if I move all my Phoenixes across the map, most of the time what ends up happening is that the moment you move across the map, he moves in with a medevac drop, you're in trouble, you don't get to defend it. As I'm just staying at home, nice and safe. I have my Oracle patrolling on the bottom side of my main base. I have a Twilight on the way, and I see 2 barracks being thrown down. See, okay, what's going on? Well, still producing mines from a factory. And he has a third base. See that there's 1 medevac here. Now, a noob might use all of the Phoenixes to go towards the middle, but I knew that it was a bit of a trick. So I just stay at home instead. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to deal with this crap first. Here I mess up. Had I killed that mine, I would have killed the medevac for free. And then I would have, or I could have maybe moved a little bit quicker into this general area. Now, just a little bit of sloppy play. His medevac towards the natural comes back as well. I don't have enough adepts to actually deal with it. And he also drops into my main base. So overall, just kind of a sloppy defense. I lose a couple of workers left, right, and center. Especially in the main base, I lose quite a few workers, I'm pretty sure. And here I lose 2. So yeah, this is not the cleanest defense. It really should have been much cleaner with the setup that I had. It's a bit frustrating, a tiny tad frustrating. I really shouldn't be lifting this either with my Phoenixes. There's no real need for it. As you can see, I'm missing a lot of probes from my main base, which is kind of bad. Because I really was very ready for it. There's 2 things I could have done there. Either I could have warped in a couple more adepts so that one base is completely secure. The moment he lands mines there, the adepts just one-shot it. Or I could have just microed better with my Phoenixes, which is probably the correct call. Although sometimes in tournaments, it is better to do something that is easy and that you know is going to work, rather than doing something that might work but is more difficult to execute. You always want to have the execution be as easy as possible. As now he's going for double drops. I have a cannon in my main, I have a cannon at my third as well, so I know life is going to be pretty freaking okay for me. I'm just roaming around. It's basically on cleanup duty at this point. I still think my eco position is okay. I believe my infrastructure is good. The problem is that my fourth base is very late. If you see a fast third base coming out of your opponent, you often either want to go for the kill move or you want to take a very fast fourth. I wanted to go for the kill move, but now I'm not sure anymore whether I can go for a kill move. So as a result, I'm like, okay, I'll make a transitionary play and I'll take a fourth. But throwing down a fourth base at 7 minutes and 50 seconds, that is very late. If I'm playing against 2 base, it's extremely late if I'm playing against 3 base. So economy-wise, I could have been doing better. I still believe that due to my fast infrastructure, I'm in a little bit of a better spot. So not too worried here right now. So I see, well, I guess I didn't see it. I saw it now in the VOD. I saw that there were mines there, but in game I didn't quite catch that. I think I lose a Phoenix there. A little bit sloppy, but not really the end of the world. Maybe 1 or 2 Phoenixes going down. I mean, it sucks. I'd rather have them alive for sure. As I'm warping in more Zealots. I have a robotics facility done already. I hope I have some type of robo bay on the way too. I'm not sure. No, okay, I'm starting it just now. So I see that he doesn't have combat shield, which kind of surprises me. I'm not sure why he doesn't have combat shield. The fact is that he doesn't. He's moving out on the map with a very small army, which in my mind is kind of crazy. And I don't want to scare him because I actually want to fight this. I'm like, wait, this is... So I could just move to the map, onto the map with my entire army. But I'm like, no, I first want to deny them the middle here with an adept. And then see what his plans actually are. And maybe force him back towards that area. Okay, he's attacking the rocks. I'm like, well, I really want to freaking fight this. This is a terrible army. Like, there's no freaking combat shield, no nothing. It's awful. If I now would have had those 2 extra Phoenixes, by the way, that would have been huge for me. Would have probably been capable of taking out a couple more units here, which I would have liked. As I continue warping in more and more Zealots. I might get a snipe there on the medevac. Now, barely don't get it. And good split here by me. Fourth base in a smart position, making it impossible for a zealot-centric army to attack interior. In general, just too many mines for me to really focus this hard on zealots. And one of the things that makes this map quite good for Terran is that it's almost impossible to run by with zealots. And it's really easy for pros to get stuck on a zealot army and then not being capable of running by with them. So I'm sending this around right now. I want to go for a run by, but there's really only a single viable path in towards the natural. And then there's the watchtower. And the moment the Terran has the watchtower, well, that's pretty much it, you know. So it's just extremely difficult for me to get any type of counterattack damage in here, at least in my mind. And we're going to clean up the mine that is located on my 5th base, because I want the 5th. I'm making sure that I know when he's moving out. And right now I am aware of that. Zealot's moving around the map. I have quite a bit of cash here in the bank. As I do manage to target down both of these mines before they get to burrow properly. There's a Colossus that is out now. There's no battery here, which is a mistake, by the way. Zealot's now moving in towards his natural, as you can see on the mini-map. And I see now as well, I'm like, hey, that's kind of weird. Seems to me like there were a lot of units there, Chief. Already has a fort base set up as well, so his eco is actually very good. I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I go for 8 Zealot warping into the main on top of the 4 that were already there. He needs to deal with that. Freaking Zealots are so ridiculously bad, though. People will really overestimate the Zealot in this matchup, I think. If you can't run by with it properly, then it's super hard. So here I see the armory, and I see it researching ship weapons. And if I can deny that, that would be great, making my Colossus a bit better against Vikings, making his Liberators worse. On top of that, making it hard to continue upgrades. And of course, also stops the mine from being invisible after they shoot. So I do get the target there on that thing. So I put my prism in the bottom right now. I have pretty poor vision on the top side of the map, I now realize. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm establishing some vision down there on the bottom side, but the top side remains pretty freaking blind, honestly, which is quite bad. I need some type of vision there, whether that's going to be pylons or just anything else, because bottom and middle are mine. Well, the entire map is mine, really. I've complete map control, but I don't have vision topside, which is bad. If you have map control, you want to have vision everywhere, because you're allowed to have vision, right? Because the armory is done right now, these mines don't remain invisible, making it easier to clean. So I don't necessarily need I don't necessarily need an observer. Yeah, I'm actually very upset that I don't have any vision on the top side. That's kind of idiotic, honestly. Because there's also rocks up there, drops can move in that direction. Now, I am attacking, and usually when you're attacking, it's hard for the Terran to do anything. I'm not entirely sure what my plan is here. I have 5 Colossus. Okay, here comes a big drop. I now start attacking, and he just has a tiny little army, let's face it. He has a tiny little army, send in everything for a counterattack drop. I have a Colossus now popping out. I'm losing a couple of my Zealots, so I need to be somewhat careful there. I target down a bunch of these SCVs, not all of them, and I'm still practically maxed. Vikings are flying forward. Keeps his 3rd base alive, though. That's important to note here. As he continues dropping. I'm like, okay, I do need to deal with that at some point. I don't have that many Stalkers with my main army. My upgrades are okay, but not great. I'm gonna try and target down a a command center. I think the planetary is a little bit ambitious for me to go for. So, see, I turn around, but half of my Zealots now kind of are moving in a weird way towards other things. Colossus also not targeting properly. My Stalker count is not high enough where I feel very comfortable. And the Phoenix count is so great. But my supply is probably fine at this point. I'm not really paying attention to the fight, because I'm just taking... Sometimes it's fine to just look at what's happening on the mini-map and to check your supply to make sure nothing weird is happening. If you're dealing with something else real fast. And that's what I was doing here. So I'm just retaking my 5th. It's always important to continue doing these things. You don't want to be stuck, you know. Not having that. My army splits up in kind of a weird way. I tried to throw down a disruptor. And here I'm like, wait a second. This army is actually pretty sizable. I'm starting to become a little bit afraid. My Zealots are moving in right now. This wasn't really the fight that I was hoping for. I lose almost all of my Colossus. And it's really quite sloppy play by me. In that he still has a 4th base, he has a 5th on the way, he has a 3rd still there, his SCV count isn't brilliant, but my worker count also isn't brilliant, and I'm also on 4 bases. It's not like I'm on 12 bases here. I also only have 2-2 upgrades, so at some point he might get 3-3 upgrades, and I am not really researching anything. My Colossus, however, are staying alive for now. Blink Stalkers blinking on top of this. I'll lose 1 more Colossus here. Yeah, my Zealot's just so far in the front, and kind of losing this fight, honestly. So this is where I decide, you know what, maybe it's best for me to just move back a little bit. Or maybe I don't decide that. Maybe I decide, maybe it's best if I try to attack into this one more time with a mediocre army. And that's indeed what I do decide. I miss my first Purification Nova, and I don't have a second Purification Nova. Here I actually kind of get blasted. I'm like, oh, that ain't good. 138 supply. He's trying to take the gold. I'm like, well, at least that's a base that I'm gonna get, you know, that I can take out. I can shoot a Disruptor shot ahead of time. Don't really hit anything. Second Disruptor shot. That one connects. And when one connects, usually it's fine. GG gets called. I win game number 1. But it was a lot harder than I thought it should have been after how well my opening went. Second game is on... This map's called Equilibrium. Now, in the vetoes, my opponent vetoed some very interesting maps. We ended up with the map pool of Alcyone, Equilibrium, and Rothhuset Station. And I was talking with Clem during it, just asking for a bit of advice and just, you know, discussing in general. And I was like, these are the vetoes. I was like, well, these are 2 of my starting vetoes. Both Rothhuset Station and Equilibrium, I think, are considered extremely bad for Terran. So both of us are really surprised that Milky Cow decided to play them. I still don't quite understand why. It's like, in a way, I can kind of understand Equilibrium because it's good for certain all-ins, but in my mind, the Rothhuset Station, it really has no redeeming qualities at all for Terran. So I felt very comfortable if we get into a game number 3 as well, that if I get to play that map, I'm pretty good on it. I was even considering picking it as the second map. I was like, Equilibrium. I have more games on it. I had a clear game plan, and I was fairly sure that I knew what he was going to do here, because one of Zane's replays actually was on this particular map. I already had Milky Cow kind of tagged as an Armory Mine player, and once I saw that he opened up with a double gas here, I started feeling very, very comfortable early game-wise. I'm like, okay, this is good for me. In general, the PvT early game right now, like the first 5 minutes or so, I feel extremely comfortable in. The new Cyclone pushes, I think, are more manageable for me with a lot of Stargate openers. And whereas before against players that are considered a little bit worse than you, sometimes playing Stargate was very scary. Now I think it's actually very safe and it feels very good to play. It's just Oracle first is such a powerful tool with scouting, dealing damage, and then with Phoenixes you're safe against pretty much everything. There's many different follow-ups, many different variations you can play as well. So yeah, I freaking love it. I really enjoy playing the early game against Terran right now. I'm not quite as good at the mid game and the later game stages. I tend to throw games quite harder, as you can kind of saw in that last game. But I think the early game, I almost always end up getting ahead, and especially against 2-gas openers, I feel fairly comfortable. Majority of the time, of course, there are some openers that I don't quite know how to figure out, but I'm not gonna disclose all of those. Like, this particular opener is real hard. Opponents of the future, take note. It's like, nah, not really. So I'm just hunting here for his Reaper, and one of the moves that he's known for is sending 1 mine across the map to try and catch your Oracle, or to try and run in towards your Natural. So this is kind of what I'm anticipating here. I really want to keep this Watchtower as a result, and I do see the mine here showing up right now. I'm gonna get 3 shots off on it. You need, I think, 5 shots to kill a mine, if I'm not mistaken. I tried to trigger it here, but I mess it up because I'm an idiot. And I see his medevac flying across the map. This is a really tight timing that he's hitting, by the way. Like, he's legit hitting at like, what, 355 or so, which is ridiculously fast. But it also means he has nothing at home. It also means I don't really have very much at home. But he has nothing at home, and that's an issue, because I can just kind of wait this out. I can say, hey, kill one of my workers. I'm okay with that. I'm going to kill 5, 6, 7, 8 workers of yours. Gonna clear this mine before it drops as well. And my situation right now is very good. Once I have 2 Phoenixes, I can just lift all your mines if you don't have them burrowed. And if you do have them burrowed, guess what? My Oracle is coming back home. It's going to deal with that quite well. So I still see that there's a mine burrowed here as well, which actually scared the crap out of me. I didn't do proper counting here at all. Like, I didn't count how long ago this mine fired. So this actually was really close. As you can see, he only gets 1 kill, but holy crap. That could have been so much worse. I did clear it all up. And because this was an opener without a reactor factory, I still need to be careful of potential follow-ups. So I need to actually go scout on the map right now with my units, with my phoenixes. You see I'm getting a couple of extra adepts. It's just like a safety precaution. I think this is actually a mistake in a way. I don't think I had to add these adepts quite yet. And I think it delays my mid-game a little bit. But it's not the end of the world. It really is not the end of the world. As I'm adding another Phoenix, and I think at this point it would be wise to add, yep, there we go, Twilight Council, so I can go into charge. You could say, why don't you go into a Robo? Because I think it's a little bit late to go into a Robo right now. If I had wanted to play Robo, I would have had to have done that a bit earlier. So I'm just scouting. I hadn't expected the Viking Cyclone setup to be there. I wanted to clear 1 or 2 workers, but it didn't quite work out. And honestly, I think I'm a little bit too paranoid here of potentially there still being a mine drop on the map, which, based on the information that I've seen, is not possible. So I'm really ascribing like supernatural qualities here to Milky Cow, just being way too paranoid. I should be across the map. Like, I have freaking 6 air units, I have 5 Phoenixes, I have 1 Oracle. I can deal some significant damage because he really rushed into his barracks. He only has 1 Cyclone, one Viking, and then Marine. So you can always find angles here to deal damage, and I haven't been doing that. And the first like 30, 45 seconds are the most important. And now the Marine count has already grown a bit. I just was way too passive here, which is really a very, very big blunder in my mind. It's really quite stupid. And yeah, you kind of pay the price for that in not killing anything, and also lacking a bit of scouting information. I see a lack of a 3rd base here, by the way. I still want to get my robotics facility out. And I want to get a very high worker count as well. I'm considering getting a Templar Archives here, because in my mind, getting a Templar Archives against people that play very long on 3 racks or on 5 racks and delay their 3rd base, I'm like, that's a pretty cool move, you know. I do like that, so I was definitely considering it, but I'm like, no. Well, I also like sentries against any potential 5 racks all in. For example, if he pulls SCVs, I want a lot of sentries, and I think that's a little bit better. So I'm adding into my sentry count here. I already have 2. I'm getting a bit more gas as well. Make sure I don't get supply blocked. 1 more sentry, go up to number 3. And I just kind of want to keep track of where my opponent is. And now, something important here on this map is that one of the reasons why you could say this is okay for Terran is for particular all-ins. And that is because it's hard to force field. Most maps have like better areas to force field. This map doesn't really have great areas to force field. They need to be very far out on the map. There's almost always like little rotations he can make that make it hard. So I'm seeing this. I'm like, this is kind of weird. Like, he's just kind of sitting in the middle of the map waiting for his army to grow. And this is such a classic look. Like a classic, hey, I'm all-inning you with SCVs. You know, this is not a normal movement pattern if you're not planning on all-inning. So I'm just waiting with sending in my zealots as well. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna relax a little bit here. Just gonna pick off what I can. And he's doing something so funky, and it's so obvious to me. I do get a 4th base. I don't think this is a mistake. I think this is a good investment of resources. I think this is a very good investment of resources. And here I do see his SCVs. So I try to hit the force fields, and I missed this one, which is really a little bit sloppy. Just gonna move back, warp in a couple more of these. Start getting cannons and batteries in my natural. I'm like, okay, he does have a 3rd base, which is off by itself. I'm starting disruptor production, not because I think disruptors are necessarily great, although I do think they're quite great, but mainly because disruptors can clear mines, and also they produce much faster than Colossus. And if I can clear some of these mines, maybe my zealots are a bit better. So I am clearing quite a bit. I think it's wise to always send in another zealot run by after your first one dies. And right now there's no zealots on the map. There's also no pylon on the map for me, which is actually quite bad. I kill 2 of these, clear another one over there, and I'm just pulling back a little bit. I'm really afraid to engage into this too quickly. And also, just in general, all engagements are scary because his Marine count is so high. Marines have very high DPS. I don't have serious splash. If I get a single Colossus out here, it would be huge. But right now I don't have a single Colossus out. So I'm just going to connect with these mines, just clearing them up. I don't have enough force fields really to finish this. There's another big mine shot is going to connect. Don't really get anything with that disruptor shot, which is, you know, sucky for me. Getting some stalkers out as well. Still have 140 supply, but the reinforcements are actually streaming across the map. And I'm afraid of losing this base. So I move forward here. I think this is a mistake. I don't think I should have chased this at all. And I lose a crap ton of units. And I kind of lose my footing here. You know, just not very capable of holding that third base with ease. And I think I repeat this move another time here. This one I don't mind as much. It was a good force field at least. But I don't really have that much. He has a lot of healing on his army. I still don't have a Colossus, which super sucks for me. So I'm just kind of rotating these workers now towards the gold base. This is also fairly fairly clear, transparent as to what is going on. My main army is actually quite small now. Now he shouldn't have too many workers, but he's still on 3 bases. And 3 base versus 3 base is always good for, or almost always good for Terran. Because mules are so insanely strong. And 3 base, you just need higher eco as a Protoss against Terran. Because most of the time you're going to be trading poorly. Here he picks up. He actually kind of gives me out in a way. It's like, hey, I can just clear these drops and then I feel a lot safer already. And that's definitely going to feel quite good. So here I start moving forward. Guardian Shield gets used as well. I miss a force field. Well, I don't miss a force field. I hit a force field that he just picks up and pisses off. I just need to repower these buildings right now. I gotta make sure that my gold doesn't get taken up by anything stupid. And I want to keep some units in my main as well, most likely, at some point. It's very scary to move around in general. When there is a threat of an attack on your gold, which is extremely vulnerable. And there's also a massive threat of an attacking towards my main base. And like these things, this is just the reality of how it is right now for me. Get a warping in over there. Sending my Phoenix to deal with that. My 5 Zealot run by gets, well, does get in, but it sees so many workers at the third, it actually scares the crap out of me. And here he starts attacking that base as well. I'm like, wait, this is really not good for me, but his army is small. And I do have a Colossus out at this point, so if I can target down some of these Marines, that'd be huge. This gets picked up as well. And now I'm like, okay, I don't actually like my position very much, but I do like my army very much. And I'm pushing my opponent back. And whenever you push your opponent back and there's no Vikings on the map and there's no Ghost on the map, as a Protoss player, it's usually a good plan to move across. Generally, it's a good plan to move across. Because there's nothing really that Terran has against Colossus, unless if there's no Ghost, basically. So here I see him move across the map. And I'm kind of waiting, I think, for my thermal lens here to finish, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong about that. I pick these two up. Beautiful. Really nice move, I think. Yes. Well done by me. I'm happy with that. That's for sure. I left my 2 disruptors. Oops. Happens to the best. Thermal lens getting close to finishing. I'm still kind of building stuff behind this. Because it's not like this is super all in. But I do need to deal some serious damage. Like my opponent has more workers than I do. Probably has slightly better eco as well. I'm just kind of lucky that I have a better army. He has a lot of Marines in here. And the moment I see this, I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, unless I seriously mess this up, which I shouldn't, I'm going to be just fine, you know? I actually missed target with my Colossus here. I should have been killing Marines, so I start doing that now. Just right-clicking different clumps of Marines where I have the biggest splash. I started by clearing all the SCVs, which wasn't great. I get the GG. Clap for myself. And I win the first game in the first series. And that means that in the Swiss format, I will now be playing someone that also has won their first series. And once I've played that, I'll also upload that, of course, here on this channel. If you want to watch it live, I don't know when it's happening yet. I'll leave a link to the Liquipedia so you can check out the schedule. And that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this format. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye-bye.